y'all. Kinsey Schofield here with Ted Rowlands from Court TV. And Ted, you sat through the Saturday Night Live. You've seen it all. Let's jump into the latest with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Really quickly, there were some new documents submitted today, right? These, what would I call this? It's not an amended. Pardon?
Yeah, complaint.
Okay.
They're adding to their complaint, basically saying, "Oh, and look, there's some more information that we want to throw out there." And because of the gag order, now the only way really to add some fuel to the fire for either side is to amend their complaint and file it with the court, because that's public record. And oh, guess what? Now we all see it. So
you say that, but we'll talk about Saturday Night Live in a second, because to me, I watched that and thought how contradictory. I mean, that behavior contradicts your argument that you want a fair trial and you don't want this to play out in the court of public opinion. Yet you're standing in front of a room of celebrities on a national television show, and it looks like they're endorsing you, making a joke out of this. So we can get deeper into that in a second. But when it comes to this the latest document, I was caught off guard by the fact that Blake says that other women were made to feel uncomfortable by Justin Baldoni. Being made uncomfortable is not a crime, or I have the IRS thrown in jail, okay? Because once a year they make me feel very uncomfortable. And B, how can you say these other people? How can you represent other people? I mean, can you? How is that possible?
They can say that there were other people that were made to feel the same way that she felt. The problem is they don't back it up because they want privacy for those too. Once this, if it goes anywhere, which I still think at some point someone is going to just quit, because this is hurting both of their reputations. But what they're saying is, listen, she's not alone. This behavior was exhibited to others as well. Well, Baldoni's attorney came back and said, well, all right, well, let's hear it. And let's wait for the deposition. You're under oath. Now what's your story? And so that'll be when we really find out to what extent he was a creep. And, what was it? Is it his personality that's annoying? Because to your point, there's people you work with every day whose personalities are very annoying, and they annoy everybody, but you can't file suit against them. So what was it that he did to those women, to her? And that'll be what's judged by ultimately a jury.
Yeah, because Baldoni's attorney says that's hearsay, like how, shouldn't be out there, that this is just simply hearsay. He also said that he felt, and I thought of you when I read this, Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, doesn't he also represent the Menendez family?
I know Garagos does. I'm not sure if he's
really
involved in that as well. Yeah.
But Brian Friedman said that he felt like they would settle the case, because if not, he planned to put people like Taylor Swift under oath. And now we're seeing, because Taylor Swift mentioned several times throughout the documents that Justin Baldoni released, sometimes he's vague about it, but we know it's Taylor Swift. I actually think that in a charming way, they tried to protect her, versus throwing Taylor under the bus. I think that they were trying to be super careful with her. Have you seen any of the reports, or how would you respond to the reports that Taylor Swift is distancing herself? We didn't see her at the Super Bowl with Blake. She was at the last Super Bowl with Blake, hugging it out during every touchdown. Maybe Blake was her good luck charm, now that we know the results of that Super Bowl. But what do you think about Taylor distancing herself from Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds right now? Is that a good move? Taylor's been the bad guy during the Kim and Kanye drama.
I mean, listen, if you're
I know you're an expert. I know.
But from a public relations standpoint, if you're Taylor Swift, if you're one of these two other women named in this latest filing, you want nothing to do with this, because look what's happening. Look what's happening to these three, and Ryan Reynolds is now part of it. It's every time you see them, like in the Saturday Night Live skit, you right away think of it. And yes, they acknowledged it. And in that world of that 3 hour special, it was funny. I laughed. Taken out of context, which is what now is being done. It's like, whoa, I can't believe they did that. And it just brings more attention to it. So for does Taylor Swift want to get involved in this? No, she doesn't care that much, right? And I would probably argue the other two don't either. They don't want their careers tarnished with this, you were part of the Blake versus Baldoni thing. And that's what this has become. And I don't think anybody's happy.
Yeah, did you notice that the author of the book, Colleen Hoover, she deleted her social media after defending Blake right when Blake spoke, right when Blake's team, I don't want, I have to be careful saying it, but allegedly coordinated an article with the New York Times. Colleen Hoover supported Blake on social media. Shortly after that, deletes her entire digital footprint. And now that she's got a new project to promote with Anne Hathaway, I believe it is, she has resurrected the Instagram account with no sign of Blake on it. I mean, what a yo-yo, what chaos, and just unnecessary drama. You mentioned Saturday Night Live. Let's talk about that for a second. Could Justin Baldoni's team take that clip, like you said, out of context and present it to a judge and say, hey, you told us we needed to keep our mouth shut. This is clearly in reference to the drama that we have going on in court right now. We want you to shut this down. Or can it be used as a way to say, well, that's interesting that a husband's not taking a sexual harassment a lawsuit seriously. Do you think that that could backfire in any way?
I think right in the court of public opinion, it's fodder right now. Fast forward 6 months, a year when this is supposed to go to trial. This is not going to be, you're not going to present this to a jury. And look, back then they didn't take it seriously. They did this. It won't, right now it rings true or it doesn't, depending on where you stand, whose side you're on. And that's the problem, right? You're supposed to pick sides. Celebrities are now supposed to pick sides. They're forcing people to pick sides. And by going to Saturday Night Live, I guarantee you there were some people in that room who were a little bit uncomfortable. Thinking,
yeah, their name is Kevin Costner. Did you see Kevin Costner's face? Kevin Costner's face was so awkward, and he was just very much like, oh my God, what's happening right now? There was also gossip on page 6 in TMZ that there was an internal struggle behind the scenes at Saturday Night Live with the writers who did feel like it was an endorsement of the couple and that they were choosing a side that they weren't comfortable necessarily choosing. I've seen Bethany Frankel really defend this move, saying it was genius. I think it was genius of NBC, because how often do you and I sit around talking about Saturday Night Live or an NBC show? Although, there's some pretty great content. I love the Peacock app, Southern Charm, Dateline 24/7. I mean, I'm their girl. But
well, I'm a huge Saturday Night Live fan, so I was actually
oh,
looking forward to this and watched the whole thing, and oh, it was great. And so for people that were engrossed in this 3 hours, again, I think this was just funny. It was funny, it was a joke.
yeah.
But bigger picture, and now talking about it does take on this other meaning. And again, I don't think anyone else wants to get involved with it. I'm surprised that they continue to perpetuate it. It's on Entertainment Tonight every night. It is on page 6 most days. Any new little tidbit is going to be disseminated. And both sides seem to be feeding the beast despite the gag order.
Do you think Justin is confident in his attorney? Because anytime I've seen him, he does look peaceful and carefree, and maybe that's just his personality, but his attorney's done such a great job of redirecting. I don't remember what the question was recently, but the way that his attorney pivoted and was talking about Justin feeling so blessed to be able to house people that lost their homes in the LA fire. And then all of a sudden your mind is there and you're like, yeah, that I forgot about that. How great that these people have this safe space thanks to Justin and his family's generosity. I mean, really, I don't see or hear much from Blake's team. I mean, I guess we hear occasionally from Blake's team. I couldn't tell you their names or their faces, but Justin's attorney, I mean, to me, he's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and the PR battle right now, I think, is being won by the Baldoni camp because they seem to have the truth on their side, or at least they're acting like it. And the allegations against him are so sort of general. It's hard to get your head around it. If it was a Harvey Weinstein scenario where Blake Lively had a story about how Justin Baldoni got her in a room, pinned her up against did something egregious, and you're like, oh my gosh, where the accusation itself was so overwhelming, just the accusation makes you feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
That's not here. So I think both sides have they're in a strange spot. They're trying to win this public relations war, and Baldoni's walking around like, I'm innocent. And he's carrying himself in that way, and his family is, and his attorney is aggressive. This is an abomination. Where the other side, if you let's assume that Baldoni is correct. This was started with an alleged hit piece coordinated by the New York Times. All this was let's ruin his career because we're mad about the way we fought during the production of a movie. That is very Amber Heardish, right? That's like false allegations against somebody to ruin their career, to be vindictive, and using the powerful tool of a sexual assault or sexual harassment allegation. That could turn on you very quickly because if you're using that in the wrong way, if you really weren't a victim, people will have zero tolerance for that because the real victims need a voice. They need the world to believe them when they come forward because it's such a difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, her story, in many people's opinion, doesn't have that ammunition behind it. Now, as this progresses, and if it does go to trial and you hear her story, well, maybe the jury and the public will come away with it thinking, oh my gosh, this Baldoni guy is a monster. At this point, it doesn't feel like that.
When I hear people describe it as a David versus Goliath story, who's David and who's Goliath? Is it just Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are Hollywood it couple? Ryan Reynolds owns a million businesses and has been in the industry for decades and was Mr. Nice Guy for so long. And Justin Baldoni, while a successful while a very successful, I don't want to say content creator because I think that belittles. He's done so many films and so many different projects, but I'm just using the word content because it's all over the place. All of the different projects he's actually executed over the years. I don't mean he's sitting on TikTok, but they're both highly successful. Is it the fact that Blake?
But they're in different leagues, right?
Yeah. That's my
These two
question.
are
Yeah.
these two are Hollywood royalty. He is a scrappy guy coming up. How dare he battle with us during a movie? Listen,
Yeah.
I will teach you a lesson. What? And that's what we're getting. That's the message right here. And I think that that's the reason that people are generally siding on one side. And I think Justin Baldoni is winning at this point in the court of public opinion, which means nothing except if you're an actor or an actress, and it means everything. And the minute you get blackballed in this world, things crumble very quickly.
Did you see that Ari Emanuel, who is conveniently also Meghan Markle's agent, who was the incredible character, Jeremy Piven's character on Entourage, was based
Yeah.
on
And
recently.
yeah. His brother was the mayor of Chicago, Rom.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that he recently kind of made fun of Justin Baldoni and called him baloney and said that he stood by Blake and Ryan? You talk about being blacklisted in Hollywood. This is an incredibly powerful man. Um, that is a huge win for Ryan and Blake. I know that the court of public opinion really doesn't matter, but it really truly feels like right now that's all these three are playing at.
Absolutely. And I think all of them are losing, right? Everyone is at the end of the day, right? I don't feel sorry for anybody. If you're an outsider looking in, and I guess we don't matter, it's like, oh, please get over it. settle your nonsense and move on. Because again, unless the
I
allegations are
don't
different
know.
than I've read.
I do feel bad for Justin Baldoni because if you are not a sexual harasser, that's a yucky, it's like being called a racist. I don't want to know. I want to be called, I'm not a racist. There are certain well, it's like you said with Amber Heard, there are certain accusations that are so damaging and so extreme that you're paralyzed with fear that someone might actually truly believe it.
Absolutely. And that's why the aggressive defense.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing, because you want to scream from the highest mountaintop, this is wrong. I am not that person. I'm being set up by these evil people. Again, it comes back to, what did he do? What did he do?
What did he
What,
do? What
right.
did he
That's the
do?
problem here. It's now, if you read the first documents, he held on to a love scene a little too long. He apparently ran into her trailer while she was breastfeeding. Well, he's got the receipts on that with the text saying, "Come on over to my trailer. I'm just breastfeeding." You're underwhelmed with the accusation, so then you're like, wow, did they make this up because of some weird Hollywood thing? They're going to crush him. That's horrible.
Right.
And
I
now
mean,
you've got people are like, I don't know what to think. At the end of the day, they don't care. They just want you kind of like, from the outside, you're kind of thinking, okay, these people get what they deserve.
yeah,
If they're gonna keep this up for another year before
right.
trial with this back and forth.
I I um I and again, I think I've said it a million times to you, so I apologize, but I do think it's important to say if Blake Lively feels violated, that's horrible and I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
But you also want to put yourself in Justin's position as the actor slash director. Did a love scene linger too long? We don't know what's going on in his mind. Is he thinking about camera number three? Is he thinking, oh, I just heard a sound. I wonder if that was picked up on camera. Do we need to retake this? Like, I don't know why something lingered too long, but there might be a million technical reasons in his head, or there might be a million technical things going on in his head
Or the
that
guy's
aren't
a
going
creep.
on in Blake Lively's head in that moment.
Right. Or the guy is a creep and that she picks up on it. These other two actresses picked up on it and it was annoying.
Yeah.
Was it was it criminal? Did it
Mm.
rise to the level of where, oh, this guy should be put away. He should not be walking the streets. I, I don't feel that right now from this civil back and forth.
Like,
And
have you seen when he
to my
takes
knowledge,
pictures?
there's no criminal investigation.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen when he takes pictures? And it reminds me of Keanu Reeves, who's one of the first people I noticed do this. Whenever he takes pictures with fans, you see that there's like 5 inch now in front on the front, it looks like he's got his arms wrapped around them. But if you see from behind, he's got his hands about 5 inches behind them. So he's not touching them around their waist. And Keanu Reeves does something similar. And I'm sure that they're just trying to save their asses because they don't want somebody to be like, he pinched me or whatever. But I think that there's also something incredibly respectful about that to not only the fan, but to your wife at home or your girlfriend at home. This like 5 inch rule or whatever. Have you ever seen those photos?
No, but it does sound like the guy is very aware of his surroundings. And if you look at the filings in this case, he does seem like he was kissing her ass on many levels
Yes.
during this back and forth where she's pushing for more control. He's trying to push back. The other producers are like, "What is she taking on the movie?" And he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm so scared because she's married to Ryan Reynolds, and I'm hardworking guy, Jason.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be big as they are someday if I kiss their ass. And he didn't do a good enough job. And now everything's being evaluated, and they came out with the allegation that this dude sexually harassed Blake Lively.
Mm.
That's bad.
Did I ask you this last time? Did you read all the documents that Justin submitted? Yeah, I don't even, I lost a day of my life doing it, but if,
Yeah, and I went in skeptical, thinking, all right, well, let's see what he has to say. And it's going to be another, it's just going to be BS, his rendition. No, but those text threads are enlightening. And
yes.
that's what I think really, that's why they're so aggressive. That's why they launched that website. That's why before the judge told them to settle down, they were out front because they felt like this was an injustice. And we're watching it still play out. And both sides, you know, I guess I can't wait to see what's next.
I know. Well,
Sadly.
when you talk about the all of a sudden this harassment allegation, I don't know if you felt a real shift in the resentment like I did, but in those documents, it's during the editing process where Blake Lively stops playing nice. And there, it's just all of a sudden she ghosts them and it goes cold. And now they find out she's secretly editing the film by herself. And I'm really curious about that mystery time period where there's a period of time where Blake's like, hey, I'd love to be in the editing bay with you. No, I'll make the sacrifices. Let me get in there. And then she postpones almost to the very last minute watching their first cut because he's texting the editors and they're like, she hasn't even opened up the link yet. And so, like, I think that they're supposed to edit at 11. She opens the link at 8 a.m. or something like that. And then she cancels on them that day after she opens the link so early in the morning. And it feels like from there, everything goes south. So for you to say, like, they weren't getting their way and it combusts into this big drama, that's truly the way I felt reading that timeline and saying that there's this mystery silence that starts to happen around the time she finally opens the link and watches the first cut. And then she just goes off on her own direction.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they probably she opens it and Ryan look at and they're thinking, oh my God, this movie sucks. Oh, what are we gonna do? This movie sucks. And that begins this back and forth. Here's how we fix it. Let's do this. And now it's a wrestling match for control. It's how do we fix this thing? And this is, the COVID issue was a problem with the filming, and they were probably under a lot of pressure. And she was very, I'm sure, mad, sad that this project didn't look good in her eyes.
And
Great.
she'd felt
This
weird.
is,
She
and
felt
then
weird on set. So now
yeah.
she's like,
So
I'm
now,
just throwing everything
yes,
up.
exactly. So now it's like, oh my gosh, this guy. Oh, and he's a creep. He looks at my, like then, and then you tell that to the husband, and I'm sure that's when game over. Really? What did you do? And oh, we'll get him. And that's how it starts. The question is, how does it end?
That's true. Okay, so one last question, then I'll let you go. Thank you for being so gracious with your time. You watched SNL. You thought that that was a funny bit, but you've also talked to me about how serious these types of allegations are. So, do you at all think it was in poor taste for them to make a joke, even loosely a joke, around an incident that involves sexual harassment?
I think that this is where the allegations not being that serious are helps them. Like if she was alleging that he would in detail did just despicable something or other
Do
in
you
the
also
trailer,
mean vague? Is that the
vague.
allegations being vague? Yeah.
Yeah. It then I think that them going, what, they're not supposed to leave their house. That I don't know. I'm not as like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they went to the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live.
I don't mind them going. I just don't
They
think that
both
they
were
should be
involved in
making
the
a joke
show.
out of
They,
it.
yeah, but it is Saturday Night Live. And it was a funny joke. I mean, it was
Yeah, no,
funny.
you're right.
And
It's an edgy arena. It's an edgy venue.
yeah,
So if you're going to do that anywhere, you have to do that anywhere. And I always say about Harry and Meghan, they need to be more self-deprecating. They need to stop taking themselves so seriously. They need to poke fun at themselves, and maybe people will be more likely to be more accepting of them going forward. That is advice that I give Harry and Meghan. That is what we saw with Ryan and Blake. I felt a little awkward knowing. And you know what? We haven't heard it from her. It was interpreted this way by the New York Times, and it was so the allegations from their point of view were so shocking that I think we digested them as such. But to be fair, Blake Lively hasn't come out and said he sexually harassed me. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I am. I guess she did in her filing. Am I?
I, I think it's clear the motivation here. There was that complaint with the ethics board or some sort of board first, which preceded the lawsuit and was all, and then you have the piece in the Times. It all was, it seemed from an outsider standpoint, a coordinated effort to attack the reputation of this person you just went through hell with during the production of a movie. And it seems a bit like mean spirited. We're going to get you. We don't like you. You're never going to be one of us. You're not on our
Never.
level, Mr. Scrappy guy. That's what it feels like at this point. And again, we'll wait for the trial. I don't think this is ever going
No, I
to
agree with you. I definitely agree with you that it won't get there. Somebody's inevitably going to have to break down. I lied. One more question, and this is the worst question. I hate that I'm asking you this because it's super rude. But Ryan Reynolds looks exhausted. Am I wrong in thinking that? Like, to me, and that's in this new update. They said that Blake and the kids and Ryan are all physically exhausted and emotionally exhausted over this. I physically see it with Ryan Reynolds.
I didn't notice. I didn't
Well,
know.
you're a dude, so you wouldn't. But
But
I wanted to get
I
that
can
in.
imagine that all the parties involved, maybe except for the lawyers, are have a massive amount of angst, some regret, and it's got to be the most uncomfortable thing ever. And if they could go back in time, everyone involved would do something different. And
I wish
it's
Blake
sadly,
Lively would have, because I love her shampoo, Ted. I have $300 worth of it in my living room. What am I supposed to do with that now? You know? And I had a girlfriend, I had a girlfriend that loathes her, hugged me while I was in London, and she was like, "Oh my God, you smell so good." And I was like, "It's Blake Lively shampoo, and I don't want to hear about it." Okay. What am I supposed to do with this? I wish she would have just, again, if she really truly feels this way, I feel awful that she had that experience. But if
oh, I
she's
don't doubt that you had that experience. I mean, I don't doubt that he made
her
her
truth,
feel,
her truth.
yeah, he made her feel icky. She got the ick vibe from him, and he probably had no idea during it and was acting like he thought he was supposed to act, like whatever. Again, go back to any workplace that you're intimately involved with people at work for extended periods of time. Personalities come out and they're annoying, and uh, it's. I assume that she was just thought the guy was a weirdo, um,
Yeah.
and they took
But
it to
it's not
a
illegal.
weird
Some of
step.
that's not illegal. That was even my argument when Justin Baldoni's team asked for um, Disney to provide the scene from Deadpool where they think Ryan Reynolds is making fun of Justin Baldoni as like nice pool or whatever. And I'm like, it's not illegal to tease somebody. It's not.
And again, that's all inside Hollywood funny. I don't have any problem with that. It
Yeah.
just this thing got to a level that I don't think anybody wanted it to get to. And now here we are. And we're here because of Baldoni and his attorney, right there. They came back hard.
Swinging.
And yeah, if I'm on the other side, I'm like, we got to figure out a way to make this go away. And I think the best way is to do nothing, try to keep it out of let 6 months go by, 8 months go by, and then just put out a statement. We've reconciled our differences, have come to an agreement, and I think both sides will move on.
And that will be wild because it will all quietly go away after all of this chaos. It will
You
all,
can't have a winner or a loser.
yeah,
Otherwise, because no one at this point, no one's going to be the loser, right? Baldoni's already said, I'm not losing here. And you don't want it to go to trial.
yeah.
Going to trial takes this thing spectacle wise to another stratosphere. And
Remember
then
when
talk about
people like
making
remember when people would get in fights during the Jodi Arias trial because they wanted a seat inside the courtroom? Imagine the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni seat
Taylor
situation.
Swift is going to be on the stand tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, it'll be through. No one wants that
No.
except for maybe Court TV.
That's the truth. I volunteer as tributes to cover that. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about this today. I agree with you that it's almost becoming too much, but it keeps somebody keeps giving it life and it keeps evolving. So we'll keep talking about it while Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are popping up at SNL next to Chevy Chase. I met him one time. He was mad at me that I tried to introduce myself while he was shoving sushi in his mouth, Chevy. But you know what? God love him. Christmas Vacation is one of my favorite movies.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well, I'll talk to you again soon, Ted.